made to suffer continually by her mistress, was attached to her and did not complain. Ordinary people who are attached to the different seasons in spite of the heat, cold, and so forth are just like this. Objection: though what has been said is reasonable, separating from one's family is hard, and fearing that, one cannot go off to the forest. Answer: fool, if you do not definitely leave family life behind to live in seclusion because of your fear of separation from family and friends, the Lord of Death will certainly separate you from your family and friends. Therefore, who that is wise about what must be adopted and discarded does what must be done in any case, because of being forced definitely to do it by death's punishment. Go off to the forest therefore, before death threatens you with punishment, and make effort to attain liberation. Do not act like villagers who would not pay the taxes they definitely had to pay until they were made to suffer.
Objection: though one must certainly leave one's relations, nevertheless only after bringing up one's son and handing over responsibility for the family to him can one definitely go off to the forest. Answer: you may think that later you must obviously, that is definitely, go off to the seclusion of the forest once you have done tasks like bringing up your son and so forth, but whatever you do must inevitably be left behind. What is the value of having done that which does not yield even the slightest desired result? It is right to give it up from the start. It is like the following analogies about throwing away a useless stone and discarding a mango covered with dirt after washing it. A traveler stopped on his journey and began to file a stone. Asked what he was doing with it, he simply said he was filing it down. After his companions left him, he had many difficulties without managing to make the stone square. Understand that the domestic activities of travelers in cyclic existence are like this. Someone picked up a mango that had fallen in the dirt. Somebody else asked him, "What will you do with that?" "I'll wash it and throw it away," was his answer. Likewise, if things must be relinquished, why take such trouble to get them?
Objection: though going off to the forest is of greatest importance, fear because of attachment to I and mine makes one unable to go. Answer: if you make effort to meditate on death and impermanence, you will become free from attachment to both I and mine, for it is like this: whoever thinks, "It is uncertain when I'll die, but I will die soon," and has certainty about it, will abandon busyness. Having also completely given up attachment to the existence of the self, why would such a person fear even the Lord of Death? Since you will attain liberation through abandoning fear, you will not be afraid to go off into the forest and part from your son. It is like the following analogies of wearing a ring to detoxify food and giving up poisonous foods. Like wearing a ring on one's hand to detoxify food, the wise maintain awareness of impermanence to destroy disturbing emotions. Just as one will enjoy well-being through giving up poisonous foods, one will achieve definite goodness by giving up all attachments. Although some versions of the text read, "certainly has," this does not contradict what has been explained. Therefore, as has already been explained, think again and again that, being in death's power, you are certain to die and that the time of your death is uncertain. By establishing a sound basis regarding this, more advanced paths will arise effortlessly. Furthermore, according to the spiritual friend Bodhu, since the path to generating insights is blocked until an awareness of death and impermanence has arisen in the mind, continually meditate on coarse and subtle impermanence.
The summarizing stanza. This concludes the commentary on the first chapter, showing the means to abandon the belief in permanence, from the essence of good explanations, explanation of the 400 on the yogic deeds of bodhisattvas. Commentary to Chapter 1 by GESHE SONAM RINCHEN. Unless we remember death, there is no real incentive to practice, because we will not think about future lives nor about the need to ensure our well-being during them. Even if we recognize the need to practice, without remembering death we will procrastinate. There will be no sense of urgency. Though we may actually begin, unless we are mindful of death, what we do will not be pure in that it will remain directed primarily towards benefits in this life such as prosperity, good health and longevity. While practices may accomplish these things, they are not pure unless, having understood the narrowness and triviality of our normal concern for this life, we maintain a long-term perspective and direct our activities towards the achievement of future well-being, liberation and enlightenment. Without constant mindfulness of death, even properly directed practices will not be undertaken with sufficient energy to leave a strong and lasting imprint. Our practices should not be like writing on water, but should leave an indelible impression, like an engraving on stone. The thought of death is sobering and helps us to keep a sense of proportion. Without it, we may be tempted to act in an irresponsible and destructive way.
Though none of us think we will live forever, we act as if certain we will not die today, tomorrow, next month, or next year. In fact, our hopes and plans are based on the assumption that we will live for a long time. We plan to secure our livelihood, possessions, wealth, friends, and status. Our pursuit and acquisition of these things involves craving and attachment. Inevitably, therefore, hostility arises towards anyone or anything that could deprive us of what we seek or damage what is ours. Unaware of the destructiveness of attachment and anger, we create much harm which causes us trouble in this life and destroys our chances of happiness in future lives. Thus the possibility of attaining liberation, or even good rebirths, grows more remote.
If we have wasted our energy pursuing the ephemeral happiness of this brief life, when death comes we will feel helpless, and regret our failure to practice in a way that could have brought about a radical transformation in this life and provided a favorable setting for growth in the future as well. Cultivating an awareness of death's closeness is of great benefit. It encourages us to use our property and wealth generously for others' well-being, to be conscientious about preventing harmful physical, verbal, and mental activity, and to live in a constructive way, making best use of each moment.
Our harmful physical and verbal actions stem from disturbing emotions which make the mind unruly. The only effective way to rid ourselves completely of these emotions is through understanding reality. Since this takes time, we need a powerful means to combat their manifest form. Mindfulness of death provides this, for the more we bear in mind our own impending death, the less these disturbing emotions or their physical and verbal expressions will manifest, and our positive practices will become purer through being less contaminated by the three poisons. Initially, awareness of death spurs us to practice. It then induces us to persevere. Finally, it ensures the successful completion of whatever was undertaken. Such attentiveness has the power to transform each moment, making every day precious and meaningful. Fully understanding the many advantages of remembering death and the disadvantages of not doing so, we should cultivate an awareness of coarse and subtle impermanence. By doing so we will realize how we undergo change constantly, and that such change is an involuntary process governed by factors beyond our control. This will lead us to an understanding of coarse and subtle suffering and toward that of coarse and subtle selflessness.